by the UN concluded Israel has a, quote, intent to destroy Palestinians in Gaza as defined by the Genocide Convention. Does France agree with that report?
No, we don't qualify as a genocide what's happening because it is not a political statement. This is the judges.
Bro, how many times have Israelis, I'm not talking about ordinary Israelis, I'm talking about elected officials come out and say, hey, yo, we about to go into Gaza, we about to clean all these motherfuckers out. We're going to make Gaza and the West Bank so unlivable that Palestinians are going to self-deport themselves. How many times have they said outright genocidal statements and outright intent? These are the leaders that you guys are rooting for over Putin or Xi Jinping? Here's Emmanuel Macron. These European leaders are utterly disgusting. This is him conflating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism once again. This is the mentality of these European leaders.
You cannot reject the existence of Israel. Anti-Zionism is unacceptable and is anti-Semitism.
You guys see how he's saying that French accent, how anti-Semitism is anti-Zionism. This is why he's attempting to crack down on the free speech of his own citizens. He brutally arrested people for standing up for Palestine action. These are the genocidal leaders that are propped up by the liberal West. And people wonder why I root for Xi Jinping and Putin over these psychopaths. So let's look into this again.
You cannot reject the existence of Israel. Anti-Zionism is unacceptable and is anti-Semitism. But it doesn't mean that you are not allowed to be in disagreement with the government of Israel. Otherwise, we will become crazy. I'm sorry, but I want to fight very hard against anti-Semitism. I'm deadly against any anti-Zionist speech. But I do endorse to be in disagreement with Prime Minister Netanyahu and some of his ministers on many topics. It doesn't make me an anti-Semitic.
How is this not the most batshit crazy ideology in the world, period? So you oppose, apparently, Israel murdering people, but you support, you are against Israel murdering their own people, but you arrest people in your own society for protesting the same thing. You admit that Israel has gone crazy with their genocidal actions. You admit that Israel murdered a lot of civilians, but he still refuses to call it a genocide. Here's another clip.
An independent commission set up by the UN concluded Israel has a, quote, intent to destroy Palestinians in Gaza as defined by the Genocide Convention. Does France agree with that report?
No, we don't qualify as a genocide what's happening because it is not a political statement. This is the judges.
Bro, how many times have Israelis, I'm not talking about ordinary Israelis, I'm talking about elected officials come out and say, hey, yo, we about to go into Gaza, we about to clean all these motherfuckers out. We're going to make Gaza and the West Bank so unlivable that Palestinians are going to self-deport themselves. How many times have they said outright genocidal statements and outright intent? These are the leaders that you guys are rooting for over Putin or Xi Jinping? Like, these people are out of their mind. This guy is literally a Rothschild banker. Just like the BlackRock prime minister from Germany, Friedrich Merz. This is insane. I'm showing you the ideology of these European leaders who now trying to pretend that they mourn for the Palestinians. And they are only doing this because their populists hate Israel now.
This is the judges or the historians to qualify a genocide by a series of evidence and a clear jurisprudence and clear elements.
So you reject that report and that finding?
No, I don't reject the report. This is not my point. My point is it should not be a political debate. What's happening is clearly a lot of civilians are being killed de facto on the ground.
Bro, that is the same bullshit that Bernie Sanders said. It's so disgusting. saying that Israel's committing a genocide is not political. It's a legal term. So if it's a genocide, that means your ass is going to be held accountable for funding a genocide. So that's why he don't want to accept that it's a genocide. It's the same thing that Bernie Sanders say. Bernie Sanders say, well, I don't want to call, well, he now changed his tune. But before he say, I don't want to call it a genocide because genocide is a political term. No, Bernie, calling it a genocide is important because that makes Anthony Blinken and Joe Biden directly complicit and liable for legal charges. And Bernie Sanders knows this. The people who advise him on legal matters, they know this. The reason why Bernie Sanders wouldn't call it a genocide until Donald Trump took office All right, let's man, we're almost 90 minutes in already. God damn it. I'm running out of time. I've been gone for a week, so you guys know I had a lot to say. I'm mad I got cut one of my stories today. Fuck. I was gonna talk about Argentina. They need a bailout. I'm gonna say that maybe for Wednesday. I had a propaganda segment planned too. Damn. But either way, I'm back. I'm only back on Wednesday too, so I got a lot covered. I'll be back on Wednesday covered. Damn, there's so much to talk about. I'm mad I kind of went over my time. But let's just in my last clip on Macron and hey Zoya, we definitely probably gotta need to change the title. Zoya's love, Zoya's life. And we're definitely gonna do a segment. We're gonna have a segment on this Macron statements as well. I have a few more clips. I'm gonna go slightly over. I have a few more clips I'm gonna play before we wrap up. I definitely want to show you guys this one because out of all the clips that we showed and all the clips I've seen from Western leaders, this is probably one of the craziest. This is Emmanuel Macron engaging in genocidal rhetoric, just casually.
A lot of people worked very hard to kill the credibility of the Palestinian Authority in Gaza years ago. Mm-hmm. And Hamas appeared as precisely a sort of alternative option. Mm-hmm. But the terrorist attacks were launched by Hamas, not by Palestinian Authority. And if we say all those living in Gaza and all those backing the Palestinian state are de facto the support of Hamas, there is no end to this war, except the day you kill everybody. And
bro, what? You guys hear what he said? I know it may be hard to understand him, but he said, if we say all those living in Gaza and all those back in the Palestinian state are de facto supporters of Hamas, there is no end to this war except that you have to kill everybody. Bruh, we know that the majority of Hamas are Palestinian orphans, as I was playing like 10 times in the stream alone, have the legal right to engage in armed resistance against Israel for the exact reason that Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel is blocking the Palestinian state. So Emmanuel Macron is explaining his rationale on why we got to have a Palestinian state without Hamas. Because he's like, hey man, I'm not saying that all Palestinians are Hamas. Israel claims that all Palestinians are Hamas, and that's why we can't have a Palestinian state. If Israel was telling the truth and all Palestinians are Hamas, we might as well kill them all. Which shows the mindset of Emmanuel Macron, which is the same mindset of Bernie Sanders. That if you are a part of the Palestinian resistance, you must die. Do you guys see how liberal Zionism is genocidal? Bernie Sanders, to this day, still say he supports Israel engaging in military operations against Hamas. So people like Emmanuel Macron and people like Bernie Sanders pretends to mourn for Palestinians when they are the victims. But then the second that they engage in their armed right to resistance and they score resistance victories against Israel, then they must all die. So what Emmanuel Macron says here is supporting the genocidal ideology of the Likud party. I'll play it again because he's saying if you're a Palestinian and if you support Hamas in any way, like the Israelis claim, I support you being murdered. Like when I first heard this clip, my jaw was on the floor. Like this clip alone should be impeachment worthy. We all know if France hates Macron, like France is not a functioning democracy. It's a straight fascist hellhole. Because they tried to get rid of this motherfucker. They said, you guys can't actually do that. I know most of you guys voted against this motherfucker in the last election. Most of you guys voted for the French left party. But hey, you forgot that you can't vote your way out of fascism. Dummies. They're like, I got you. And I still remember when we covered this a while ago, Morning Joe was like, this was a fantastic gambit by Emmanuel Macron. You guys thought you had a democracy over here. Because in a rational society, this motherfucker would never be in power for saying something this crazy.
But terrorist attacks were launched by Hamas, not by a Palestinian Authority. And if we say all those living in Gaza and all those backing a Palestinian state are de facto the support of Hamas, there is no end to this war, except the day you kill everybody. And this is terrible.
You guys see how Emmanuel Macron and liberal Zionists devalue the lives of anyone in Palestine willing to stand up against their oppressors. Like Hamas, the Al-Qassam brigades, anyone who engages in their legal right to fight the Israeli state, they label as terrorists, as Israel literally engages in terrorist actions. Because Benjamin Netanyahu was 100% clear that if there was any recognition of a Palestinian state, they would ramp up their genocide. Now, this gets to the point where I had to make before I wrap the stream up. You guys see why the UK, Canada, and all these states coming out in support of a Palestinian state are full of shit? Because Benjamin Netanyahu has said many times before, if there's any recognition of a Palestinian state, we will ramp up our military actions. So you have the UK, France, and all these in Germany, they are still sending weapons. They are still supportive of Israel's inherent military actions. So when they support a Palestinian state without an armed militia, that is them giving the AOK for Israel to engage in the final solution. Because if you're not engaging in any way to stop them, if there's no mechanism that you're supporting, because the UK and France, they rejected an arms embargo of Israel. So if you reject an arms embargo of Israel while you support a Palestinian state, when you know Israel's going in, that is you signing the death warrant of the Palestinians. And now you're going to use this whole fake narrative of you being opposed to Benjamin Netanyahu as a storyline to wipe your hands clean of the genocide. What they're doing is so transparent. So here's the last clip I want to share. And this is Benjamin Netanyahu warning the world that he's going to finish the job now that they approved of this Palestinian state, and everyone in the West is going to sit by and watch it happen.
יש לי מסר ברור לאותם מנהיגים שמכירים במדינה פלסטינית לאחר הטבח הנורא ב7 באוקטובר. אתם מעניקים פרס עצום לטרור. ויש לי מסר נוסף עבורכם. זה לא יהיה. לא תקום מדינה פלסטינית ממערב לירדן. במשך שנים אני מנעתי את הקמתה של מדינת טרור זו מול לחצים אדירים, גם מבית וגם מן החוץ. עשינו זאת בנחישות ועשינו זאת בתבונה מדינית. לא כל שכן. הכפלנו את ההתיישבות היהודית ביהודה ושומרון ונמשיך בדרך זו.
But he's literally bragging about ethnically cleansing the Palestinians and the result of this. But the UK and none of these countries will still do anything. They still close partners with Israel. They refuse to support an armed embargo, and they are arresting their own people for criticizing the actions that Netanyahu is supporting, while at the same time speaking out of their mouth, pretending they are against the state of Israel.
המענה לניסיון האחרון לכפות עלינו מדינת טרור בלב ארצנו, המענה הזה יינתן לאחר שובי מארצות הברית. תמתינו. יש לי מסר
You have to realize that Netanyahu saying that there will be no Palestinian state from the river to the sea. Isn't it weird how it's genocidal when we say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. But here's Benjamin Netanyahu essentially saying the same version of that. Benjamin Netanyahu is saying under no circumstance, and this has been the political position of Israel for decades now, under no situation will we ever allow a Palestinian state. This alone means that Hamas, that means that Yemen and every single person who takes up arms against Israel is inherently in the right. They're engaging in their legal right to arm resistance against this state. And now that the UN has come to the conclusion that Israel has committed a genocide, every single country is supposed to be doing what Yemen is doing. Every single country need to be sanctioning Israel. Every country need to be engaging in blockades of Israel. What Iran did when they launched bombs into Tel Aviv was technically what every single country should be doing in response to the genocidal government.